Fascinating historical photographs. The Great Sphinx of Giza was constructed over 4,500 years back, in a real sense a large number of years before photography was created in 1826. From that point forward, swarms of photographs of the Great Sphinx and the Pyramid of Giza have been taken by individuals who came from all the edges of the world to see these superb landmarks for themselves, as some portion of what is accepted to be the main arrangement of photos taken of the sculpture. Maxime Duchamp snapped a photograph of the Great Sphinx with the pyramids obvious out of sight, in 1849. By then the chest region of the Sphinx had, truth be told, as of late been uncovered. Another photo taken in 1860 uncovered that further unearthing had revealed significantly a greater amount of the sculpture. Today, the whole Sphinx is noticeable, including its tail that folds over the back and stretches to its correct back paw. Just the nose, accepted to have been a meter wide, is absent from the sculpture. The breathtaking Taj Mahal catacomb was authorized by the Mughal head Shah Jahan in 1632 to hold the burial chamber of his significant other, Mumtaz Mahal. After Jahan kicked the bucket, his remaining parts also were buried in a burial chamber inside the tomb. This story took a turn for the frightful when a fantasy began getting out and about that said Shah Jahan cut off the hands and gouged out the eyes of all the experts and craftsmen who chipped away at the Taj Mahal to guarantee they couldn't recreate its excellence anyplace else in the world. The first ever photographs of the landmark were taken by Dr. John Murray somewhere in the range of 1858 and 1862. The main photo of the Taj Mahal portrays a side perspective on the structure with the waterway Yamuna streaming before it. The Yellowstone National Park is home to Yellowstone Lake, the biggest waterway in the recreation center. Pre-noteworthy occasions saw Native Americans populate the forested areas and valleys encompassing the lake, with the primary European explorer to discover the lake, John Coulter, doing as such during the 19th century. A fishing span was included in 1902, however, shut for fishing in 1973 after the fast decay of vicious trout. In 1871, the principal archived boat cruised out on the waters of Yellowstone Lake. The Annie was cruised to Stevenson Island on 29 July 1871 and was a little canvas boat estimating 12 feet in length. The boat contained travelers James Stevenson and Henry W. Elliot. Vincent van Gogh is as acclaimed for his excellent works of art as he is for removing his own ear. The Starry Night, the Yellow House and Cypresses are among his most well-known craftsmanships. Van Gogh likewise made various self-representations, yet just had 2 photos taken of himself all through his lifetime. One of the photos was introduced at a display in 1957, during which Belgian specialist Marc Edo Tralbo asserted that it portrayed a 13-year-old Van Gogh. In 2014, be that as it may, a Dutch TV program utilized imaging innovation to age-transform the Van Gogh photograph and contrasted it with the other photograph of the craftsman, taken when he was 19. It was discovered that the photographs didn't coordinate. The Van Gogh Museum took up the issue and presumed that the 19-year-old was without a doubt Van Gogh, yet couldn't convincingly demonstrate that the photograph of the 13-year-old was in reality the craftsman. Numerous specialists currently accept that rather than the photograph portraying a teenaged Van Gogh, it indeed portrayed his sibling, Theo van Gogh. Dinosaur fossils have intrigued the total populace for quite a while. Books have been expounded on these Goliath animals and films created that show them in the entirety of their previous glory. In 1898, an unearthing in a land arrangement in Europe, Argyll's Octeville, revealed a few bones having a place with a stegosaur. Novice geologist, scientist and paleontologist, Emile Saval, took a few photographs of the exhuming cycle and it turned into the most established enduring photos of a dinosaur uncovering in Europe. Saval had discovered a strong square of Kimmeridgian limestone on the seashore. The square contained fossilized bones and, after he advised the Natural History Museum in Le Havre, it was affirmed that the bones had a place with a dinosaur. Saval passed on in 1902 and around then, the skeleton had not yet been recognized, just like that of a stegosaur, with it actually being depicted inaccurately as an iguanodon in 1904. It was distinctly in 1911 that the Octeville bones were first effectively portrayed as having a place with a stegosaur. An adorable infant hippopotamus was caught on an island in the White Nile and gave to England as a trade-off for deerhounds and greyhounds in 1850. Obesh, named after the island he was found on, showed up in London to the cheers of many energised onlookers. His new home, the Zoological Gardens, saw the quantity of guests twofold overnight. Obesh seemed as though he was grinning at whatever point he slept. And he was one of the primary star creatures and the principal hippo to show up in Victorian Britain. Obesh got away from the zoo at one point and legend has it that an animal handler was roped in as snare to help bait the hippo back into his walled-in area. A subsequent hippo was shipped off the zoo in 1854, named Attila. Obesh and Attila delivered posterity 16 years after the fact. However, misfortune struck when their initial two calves kicked the bucket not long after birth. A third calf named Guy Fawkes was brought into the world in 1872 and endured. Table Mountain in Cape Town, SA has filled guests with stunningness and wonder for a very long time. In 1790, Lady Anne Barnard turned into the principal Cape Townian lady to scale the culmination when it must be done by walking. In 1912 plans for a cableway up the mountain began to come to fruition. On 4 October 1929 the cableway was formally opened. From that point forward, more than 20 million individuals have taken a streetcar to the top, including Arnold Schwarzenegger and Oprah Winfrey, just as Sir Edmund Hillary and George Low. The absolute first trolley that made the course up the mountain resembled a wooden box with windows in. Taking a gander at it today, it doesn't rouse a lot of trust in its capacity to move a gathering of individuals up the monstrous Table Mountain. However, during its long history, the cableway has kept up a 100% security record without any mishaps happening since its initiation. There are a large number of photos that have caught the loathsomeness and misfortune of war. A portion of these photographs portray the wicked result of fights, while others show the mental impacts that the various wars have engraved on warriors and their families. Numerous photos have been made during move and reflect not just the awful conditions the fighters needed to live in, yet the frightening activities they had no real option except to undertake. On 6 June 1944, Robert F. Chief snapped a picture of American officers landing from a LCVP at Omaha Beach during World War II. The photograph was named "Taxicabs to Hell and Back, Into the Jaws of Death," and the first inscription read, "American trespassers spring from the incline of a Coast Guard-monitored landing freight boat to swim those last risky yards to the seashore of Normandy. Faux fire will chop some of them down. Their taxi will pull itself off the sands and run back to Coast Guard-monitored transport for more passengers." This photo accumulated the standing of being one of the most acclaimed photographs of D-Day. Right around 10,000 officers were killed during D-Day. They were covered in the Normandy American Cemetery, which is situated on a bluff sitting above Omaha Beach. In excess of 1,500 warriors' bodies were rarely recuperated. In the event that you have a dread of statues, you probably won't appreciate taking a gander at this photograph. Acrobats Charlie Smith, Jewel Waddick and Jimmy Kerrigan played out an intrepid everyday practice on top of an edge on the 86th floor of the Empire State Building on the 21st of August 1934. Nicknamed the Three Jacksons, the youngsters flaunted a mind-boggling difficult exercise which finished in them taking after a human figure. This is genuinely an extraordinary photograph. Not exclusively are the Pyramid of Giza noticeable behind lines of warriors. One of the officers is slouched before a kangaroo. Of all things, kangaroos and different creatures were pirated everywhere on the world during the First and Second World Wars by Australian soldiers who were glad to serve Australia. This is the means by which the kangaroo in this photo made it right to Egypt. A few fighters even pirated koalas and possums. Numerous Egyptians were dismayed at seeing the marsupials in their nation and ghastly scared of them, until they were educated that kangaroos were innocuous except if incited. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and click bell.